So just you're going to see both my screens for a second and then get started.
I'm going to just give a quick intro. I'm very excited to welcome Paige Smith, who runs Conservation Detective Dogs, and I've been looking forward to this discussion for several months now. So I guess we're going to have some demonstrations of these Paige's two dogs, and this is being recorded. So if you have questions, I think you can hop on and ask, and there will also be a Q&A afterwards. I'm going to turn it over to Paige. Thank you so much for being willing to do this for us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you guys have questions, just pop them in the chat. If I can answer them while I'm talking, I will. If not, I'll just wait till the end. I yap a lot, so I'm gonna look at my phone to make sure I don't like overextend the amount I'm just like blabbing. So hi, I'm Paige. I'm a canine field specialist here at Working Dogs for Conservation, located in Missoula, Montana. I'm gonna have two dogs to bring out later, Riggs, who you might hear, he's very excited, and Moose, and they're two conservation dogs, and they've both worked on a variety of projects. Riggs has been here since 2021, and Moose joined us 2 years ago. So, Working Dogs for Conservation is a nonprofit organization, like I said, here in Missoula. We are currently in our 25th year of operation, which is incredible. We were officially a nonprofit in 2000. I've been here since 2021, so almost 5 years, which is very exciting. Um, we were founded by four women scientists, so Meg Parker, Amy Hurt, um, um, Deb, whose last name I just forgot, Willett, and Alice Whitelaw. Excuse me, Deb Willett and Alice Whitelaw. So those are our four founders in the photo. I don't know if my Zoom is also covering for you guys, but there they are. We have 18 full-time staff currently, so we've grown quite a lot in the past few years. A bunch of canine field specialists, my position. Two new canine field specialists were hired when I was hired. We now have a full care staff, so we have two part-time caretakers, one full-time caretaker, um, and a caretaker manager. And then we also have a facilities manager as well, along with other people. So we have a full staff. We currently have 40 dogs worldwide, and that does not include all the dogs that we've placed. Um, we've worked in 36 countries, 45 US states, and on 110 target species. And then who knows how many more species we'll get over the years with different inquiries and things like that. Um, we have four main pillars of operation: ecological monitoring, law enforcement, biosecurity, and environmental justice. And so those four main pillars kind of help guide people as like what our programs are, and also like we can help um, just understand where different things fit. And so I'm going to go over that in a little bit so it makes more sense. But all of our projects fit under one or more of these pillars. So a little bit more about me. Like I said, my name is Paige Smith and I'm a canine field specialist. Since starting in 2021, I've worked on 8 projects with about 10 or so targets. I've worked in 3 different countries and 7 US states, which is very exciting. I'm very lucky. This is from my work this summer in British Columbia. So I started with dogs in 2018 doing olfactory research, mostly with medical dogs, so cancer detection dogs. I also worked with single purpose police dogs, dual purpose police dogs, and search and rescue dogs, as well as just research dogs. So I was at the Penn Vet Working Dog Center for a while, and that's where I started and really fell in love with detection dogs and research. Um, so research is not listed as one of my favorite parts, but it's really something special to me. It's where I started. I do a lot of research with dogs, and technically any work we do is kind of research because we're collecting data. Some of my favorite parts, though, of working with these dogs is confidence building and seeing one of our rescue dogs learn what they're capable of and what they can do and what like makes them happy. And then you just see their personalities change and they really come out of their shell and become like who they're meant to be, from this like dog that was maybe a little wary and confused about what's happening to a dog that's super excited to get to be a part of something. It really is cool. You can like literally see their eyes light up. I also really love canine fitness, so I'm going to give a little fitness demo at the end with Moose. Um, just like people, these dogs are athletes and they should be treated as athletes. We're doing hard work. It's not just walking along with your dog. We are in the rainforest, in the jungle, walking up mountains, even these shorelines, like that's all rock and soft sand. Like you got to be fit. So just as we as biologists and handlers make sure we're ready for field work, our dogs need to be too. So I really like canine fitness, and I also love watching dogs just like cruise through an environment. Like I'll be like tripping over plants and my dog is just like zooming past me, and I find that just really quite amazing, and it really like exemplifies why we have dogs on some of these projects and what makes them so special. So, sorry, I'm just listening to my dog be a little silly over there. So, why conservation? So, dogs are really incredible teammates for various conservation purposes. So ecological monitoring is basically looking at species in different environments and seeing what their population is like. So there's a picture of a kit fox right here. So those are one of the scats that we look for so we can learn more about the endangered species. Our biosecurity is our invasive species. We also do like uh, rat detection where rats aren't supposed to be. We have environmental justice, which is working with different indigenous organizations or tribal members or just the tribe in general, and seeing what they need help with or what they're working on, and then providing support by dogs. So we'll either work with them with our dogs or we can provide dogs for them and then help train. So we've done some stuff on the Blackfeet Nation that I'm going to talk about. Um, and yeah, so that's really just supporting and uplifting different indigenous organizations. And then we have our wildlife law enforcement. This is a photo of some dogs in Zambia from a few years ago. And those are our anti-poaching dogs. So we have tracking and detection dogs. We do not do apprehension. So why dogs? There are so many reasons, and as I like continue in this presentation, you're kind of going to just hear more. So ease of transport is one of them. So our dogs are trained to go on planes, trains, boats, automobiles, all the above. Um, Helicopters for our dogs in Africa, small planes, big planes, anything. So that's ACE on an airplane. Um, and we take a lot of time to train our dogs up, especially for boats and things like that, things they might not be comfortable with naturally. So if our dogs are not comfortable transporting in one way, then that dog might not be the right fit for our project. Um, or we'll find a different way. So ease of transport, they can go in our trucks with us. That's the most common way that we transport dogs. They stay in our hotel rooms. They stay in trailers with us. They camp with us. They're really portable, and that helps us be able to go to remote places. They're able to cover large and inaccessible areas. So, like I said, one of my favorite things is watching dogs explore an area. So, this summer I was in British Columbia. That's actually a photo of moose in British Columbia, although on a different project. And what you can't see is probably right behind that is a really thick rainforest. And so, while I was like crawling up the side of the mountain, which is very cool, don't get me wrong, my dog Riggs is just like hopping around everywhere, super easy. He's able to find scat, wait there for me. It's really quite lovely to watch dogs like really be that agile animal that they are. Um, and it's another reason that they're so helpful in all these projects. Riggs in particular, he can triple the amount of area that I cover pretty regularly. So just thinking about what just a human would find if you're looking for, say, scat versus what my dog is covering and finding is just vastly different. One of our biggest reasons for dogs is that they are non-invasive. And so we can monitor an animal without ever interacting with that animal. We don't necessarily have to take blood or interact with the animals. So with some of our mammals I'll talk about later, we can work at different times of day that they're not around. And a lot of times we're looking for scat. So the animal isn't even there because they left what we needed to find and then we can go find it later. So that's a really huge thing with dogs. And dogs are not alone, right? Like we are not the only people out there doing this research. We work with a lot of different types of research and technology, but dogs are just another thing we can add to previously to like already planned out research. And so this summer we were doing wolf research in British Columbia, but it wasn't just dogs out there. For, years they've been doing camera traps and scent traps and audio traps. And so we're just another part of the puzzle. And we can be a non-invasive one. So another reason for dogs is that we're target specific. So that's Stella. She is alerting to a kip fox scat, and all around that is coyote scat. And so what that tells us is that as visual people, right, as humans, we would have maybe needed to collect more to see which one was kit fox and which one was coyote, because scat can look really similar, especially if animals have similar diets and they're in the same environment. But with dogs, we can train them to be very specific and hopefully choose only what we intend them to find. So that makes it easier when we're sending things to labs or when we're collecting data. They have the ability to find cryptic species. And so, again, dogs do not see this world the same way we do. We're very visual, and dogs are really using their nose. And so, we as humans might miss a piece of information, whereas dogs might find it. Or one of my favorite things is when I'm like, well, I think that we should go right, and my dog is going left, and then there's the answer. And so, it's really interesting to watch them find stuff that we maybe would have missed if we were just using our eyes. And then one of our like most dog unique things for sure is bond and connection. So dogs have adapted over thousands of years to work and communicate with people. And yes, our dogs are doing it because they love to work and they love to play and they get rewarded and it's fun. But they're also doing it because they want to do it with us. They want to do it with their handler. And watching dogs, we get lots of rescue dogs and rehome dogs that have backgrounds that are different from each other. And so watching a dog grow into themselves with a person they're paired with is really special. And it does influence the way they work. And um, it's really great to be able to see that dog come out of its shell. And also for us, like we love working with our dogs and we love seeing them work. It's enjoyable for me, like I've just said, with like watching my dog like fly through the rainforest. It's fun for me. And so that's a huge thing. The trainability of dogs, the wanting to work together, that's a really big part of why dogs are so great. So this will just kind of take that point and extrapolate it a little further is there are lots of animals that have um, a great sense of smell. Elephants have a great sense of smell. Bears have a great sense of smell. But I can't put a bear in the back of my truck. I also can't train a bear as I can train a dog because they're not really like people oriented as dogs are. So dogs are really such a great example of like a human animal bond. And so, yes, there are animals that maybe have a better sense of smell, but dog sense of smell is incredible, especially compared to our sense of smell. And then with all the other stuff that I just talked about, they make really great partners in the field. So here are some of our dogs. So just for reference, this is Riggs, you're going to meet him later, and this is Moose, you're going to meet him later. So we have a wide variety of dogs, lots of different breeds, breed mixes. Um, we get dogs from shelters, rescues, rehomes. We have some breeder donations. Um, and we also have like fail out dogs. So dogs that maybe tried out for a different job and weren't so successful and then eventually came here. So we have a lot of different dogs. And it's very fun as like trainers to learn how to handle different dogs and things like that. And then different dogs have different skills and personalities that make them better for certain projects. So because we are lucky to have a wide variety of dogs, we can place dogs on projects that fit them best. So how do we get a dog? So this is the story of Ace. So her name used to be Bella. And a lot of times, like I said, we get rescue and rehome dogs. We find a lot of our dogs on Facebook. People will send us dogs. We'll go online, but Facebook is a huge one for us. So at the time, Bella was posted on Facebook on a group that we frequent. Um, and there was a video of her playing disc, and someone at the shelter was like, "This dog would make an awesome disc dog. Someone should please come get her. She's so cool." And we were like, "We would love a pity. That would be so fun." And so we luckily had one of our coworkers in Indiana at the time, where now Ace was, and we asked her to go check her out, and she texted us back and was like, "If you guys do not take this dog, I'm going to keep her for myself." We knew then that we needed to figure out a way to get Ace over to Montana. And so we got, after testing her, we do a pretty rigorous test. It's lots of searching, toy testing. We take them into unknown areas that are new to them, like a store, like Home Depot or something like that, to test how they are like in confidence or around people, other dogs, things like that. And so it is a pretty challenging test, and a lot of dogs that have drive do not pass. The other big thing for us is that they cannot have any animal prey drive. And so we'll often safely take them around small animals or chickens, cats, whatever is accessible, and see how they act on leash, of course, and with safety in case they do not make our program. So that's a big one. So once they pass all of our testing and they get to Montana, we do a lot of decompression time and screening for correct traits. And so while they might have passed the test, as dogs get more confident and comfortable, new traits might come out. And so we do take the first few months with training. We're also learning like, is this dog going to enjoy this job? Are they going to be the right fit for this job? And if they're not, we rehome them to a home that is better fit for them, whether that's another working organization, whether, narcotics, explosives, search and rescue, or um, an active pet home. So that has happened a few times in the past few years. We've had dogs that really looked great, but once they got here, we were like, this isn't really working out for them. And we home them to an active pet home. We keep in contact, and they're all super happy. We just got a Merry Christmas card from one of our adoptees, who's now in an active pet home, and she's doing great and is very close by. So as we continue to get to know them, we're doing training. And so we train them we start with a training odor. We use anise as our training odor, and then we move them to biological odors. We train indoors, outdoors. They learn how to alert to odor. They learn how to play properly. So a lot of dogs are really high drive, but they maybe have never learned how to actually engage with a person. And it's great that they're high drive, but if they run away with their ball and never come back, that's a problem. So they learn how to play, they learn fitness, they learn engagement, they learn proper house manners. And so we do a lot of relaxing time in our facility. So our facility it's 44 acres. We have a home, we have a garage with kennels. Some of our dogs live just in the rooms themselves. And then we have this space that I'm in right now, which is what we call our shop. And we do a lot of indoor training here. And then we have a ton of acreage. So the dogs learn how to decompress and relax and also work and all the different things that go with training. So getting in a car and going somewhere, getting out of the car and working, a little bit of obedience so we can take them out and about, things like that. So they get a wide variety of training. Throughout training, we'll learn their personality, and Amanda, our head trainer, we'll all work with her with different dogs. And then dogs will get paired with handlers that we think mesh best with them. So while we all might work a bunch of different dogs, every dog has a primary handler, and that person is their main working partner. Most handlers have two primary dogs, and then every handler also has backup dogs. So, for example, for me, my two main dogs are Riggs and Moose, and then I usually have Charlie as my backup dog. So he is a uh, primary dog for somebody else, if that makes sense. So we get to know the dog, pair them with their handler, and then they get to continue training for whatever upcoming projects we think they would be a good fit on. So why do we do all the projects that we do? Um, so there's lots of reasons. A lot of people think it might just be population density or population health, which are two super important aspects of the work we do. So through SCAT, we can learn a lot about populations now. We can learn sex, individuals, and then from there you can extrapolate more about um, how that population works and what's changed over the few years. But also we can do presence absence. So our work in Laos and Indonesia, we're asking the question, is this animal still around? That's a picture over here of the Saola, which is called the Asian unicorn because nobody's really seen it. So we have two dogs in Laos that with Chiron Canine, we procured for that program, and they live there full time with their handlers, and they are trained to find different scat that might be this scat, and so that's really cool. We can do presence absence. We can also learn about where an animal is that can help wildlife corridors. So with bear here in Montana, if we can collect scat and give data and geographic information on where that scat is, then other wildlife biologists can pick the proper next steps for protection. We can also learn about diet and population density. So we do live animal stuff. I'll go over that in a little bit. But there's a lot we can do. And then, of course, environmental health. That's something that we do a lot with our Indigenous program here in Montana. And so through SCAT, we can learn more about what the animals are eating, right? Like diet. So with uh, environmental health, we can learn about water quality through SCAT. And so that's really interesting. And that is super helpful for the people that live on that land. But it's not just SCAT. So let's go over some stuff that isn't just SCAT because there's a lot more. So, like I said, we do live animal. That's a picture of a black-footed ferret that one of our dogs found. So, black-footed ferrets are the rarest small mammal in North America. They're super cute, as you can see. And they live in prairie dog colonies and they solely eat prairie dogs. So, at one point, they were thought to be extinct. And then with the plague, their population has just changed a lot because plague hits the prairie dogs and then there's nothing for them to eat. And so black-footed ferrets are bred at the Black-footed Ferret National Conservation Center and released in different areas of their native land. So Arizona, Montana, Colorado, and Wyoming is where black-footed ferrets live. And so with other types of searching, our dogs go out during the day and they search hundreds of thousands of prairie dog holes. And our dogs will alert at one of those holes and say, I think there's a ferret in there. And what we do as handlers is we mark that location and then we'll give that location to our partners. We'll put a camera trap out again. So not just dogs, there's technology involved. The camera traps will stay out for X amount of time. And then hopefully they'll come back with a picture like this. And then that is usually along with spotlighting, which is going out, driving around a prairie dog colony at night and using a big shining light and seeing if you see eye shine back at you, the tapetum lucidum. So they have green eye shine, and so you can shine a light, um, and hopefully you see that green shine back at you, and you can mark that hole. So again, it's not just dogs out there. We are collaborating, or sometimes, spotlighters will come back and be like, "I saw a ferret over there." Our dogs will go and be like, "Yeah, there's a ferret there, but there's also one over here." So it's a really great way that you can see all different types of sciences and population counting coming together. We do invasive plants. So that's Fenton. He's one of our veteran dogs, and that's him in Grand Tetons National Park. And he is alerting to a tiny plant. They're looking for salt cedar and pepperweed, which are both invasive plants along the Snake River. And so, me as a human, I've never done this project, but if I was out there by myself, that's very easy. I would have stepped on or over that. But Fenton is over here telling us it's right here under these rocks. And invasive plants are really interesting because sometimes dogs can find them before we even see them as we see them. So, maybe they've like haven't fully grown yet and they're really small, or sometimes they look different than what we're used to. And we send them to the lab and look, lo and behold, it's exactly what we're looking for. So that's a really great job for dogs. And we've been on the Snake River for, I think this was our sixth summer, this past summer. So anti-poaching dogs. So like I said, we have no apprehension dogs. We do tracking, so human tracking and anti-poaching detection. So our anti-poaching dogs will do like house sweeps, building sweeps, car sweeps, things like that. And those are all of our law enforcement dogs. We have a law enforcement training director, Jay Crafter, and so he is in different countries in Africa working with different programs. We also do training here in the States for like game warden detection dogs as well. So that's what our law enforcement program looks like. And that's one of our newer dogs. I think that's Bella. So we also have quite a few research projects. So this setup is a bit old. We have a newer setup now, but those are olfactometers. So olfactometers are a detection device that is connected to a computer via Bluetooth. So basically, it removes a lot of human error. So we can type into the computer what's in the box. So if I were to lift the lid of the box, um, there would be 6 different ports in here, and you can attach with um, like tubing, you can attach an odor to the port. And so then you tell the computer in port 1 is a distractor, in port 2 is a control, in port 3 is the target odor. And the computer, we have 4 of these boxes, but we usually use 3 at a time. So there'd be 3 boxes out. You tell the computer what's in each port. So each box has the same exact lineup. And then you say, okay, computer, I want there to be 10 rounds. 3 is the target. And I want 2 blank sessions. So meaning there's nothing available for the dog to alert at. So the dog will go and smell every box and alert to the box that the computer has chosen. So only one box will have the odor at a time. And it's a really great way to remove human error or human scent. Um, Obviously, there's no 100% human error. Sometimes computers are finicky, but it has done an incredible job. We've had them, I think, for 3 years now. We've worked on multiple research projects with them, and they have really changed the game for us. They're incredible. So research is referring to projects that haven't necessarily like hit the ground yet. Sometimes research just stays in-house, and we're comparing two like odors, or excuse me, distinguishing two like odors. So I'm going to talk about it in a second. One of our research projects is our MOV project, but this is really asking dogs to tell the difference between two things that are super, super similar. And it's been really fun, but it is definitely a brain game, and not every dog is cut out for research because it is very challenging and very repetitive. So some dogs think it's boring. Biosecurity, that's Sammy the Shiba. So Sammy is looking for rats on boats that they don't want to go onto the island. So this is in the Falkland Islands. And they don't want the rats that go on the boats to then go to the islands. So That's what Sammy is doing, and that's one version of our biosecurity work. So disease work is also paired with research. So this is a bighorn sheep. So one of our biggest research projects was recently was our MOV, which is like a sheep pneumonia. So we were training dogs to detect sheep pneumonia in different bighorn sheep samples. So we would collect samples and then present them to the dogs. So the way that they test for MOV right now, which is a pretty deadly respiratory disease, we were hoping that or that dogs could be a faster detection method. And it was really incredible to see the dogs learn the odor. I think they got it down to 1/1000th like of the odor. It's incredible. Um, and yeah, so disease work is newer, I feel like, to the conservation dog field, but uh, there are quite a few organizations now doing disease work, and we are one of them. So that's one of the reasons olfactometers are super helpful, especially with these really challenging, tiny odors. It's really great. And we can use a lot of samples at once so that dogs don't learn, like, oh, this sheep, I know that sheep. You can put, you know, three target odors in one box and cycle through them. So the dogs are really learning to generalize and understand the odor. We also do a lot of invasive mussels. So this is Fenton and the late Tony. This is Tony. Unfortunately, he passed away earlier this year, um, doing invasive mussels down in Texas. And so if anyone out here boats or kayaks, paddleboards, fishes, whatever, you probably know that invasive mussels are a huge issue throughout the country, and they ruin shorelines. They make uh, the environment really challenging for other species. And then recreationally, they're a problem because we do recreate a lot in our lakes and rivers and things like that. So dogs can check a boat much faster than a person. And so that's what Fenton and Tony were doing. We have a few other dogs on this project. And so as boats come in to a lake or a reservoir, the dogs check the boat and say, all clear, or hey, you got a mussel. And then if there's a mussel, the human part of that can clean, drain, and dry so that you can get on the water. So this is just some information about what it's like to work with these dogs. We travel 4 to 6 months out of the year. Not like every dog doesn't do every single project. Dogs have different projects they work on. Usually once a dog is on a project, they're on it for years, unless, you know, they retire. So every project looks different. And as dogs age, we can change their projects to match their physical capabilities if they're still able and wanting to work. So sometimes we're up in the mountains, sometimes we're out in the desert. We do a lot of prairies, jungle. So we're in the car driving a lot and then getting out, unpacking all of our gear, living out of usually a hotel room. Sometimes we're camping. Sometimes we're mixing it up. So my dog is very upset that I'm speaking to you. You're okay. Um, and so dogs get a good mix of projects throughout their life. And some dogs are really good at like detailed, tiny projects, while some dogs like to run and search far. So it really is dog dependent on what they're working on. Not only do they work, they also live at home with us. So we do have about 10 dogs that live at our facility, but our facility is also a home. So they do, like I said, they rotate through a home life. Um, and they also get to come out with us. If they live in the facility, they'll also get like day trips with us, or sometimes they'll come home with their handler. Some dogs live full time with their handler. This is Charlie. He lives full time with his handler. This is Quinn, same thing. Um, our dogs, as much as they get to work and love working, they're also pets and they're dogs. And they get the rotations that they need and the time they need to decompress after a project, after a day, to just be dogs. We're very active people, so they'll come paddleboarding with us, camping, hiking, climbing, biking. They join us in all of that, and that's important for a well-rounded dog and a happy dog. They can't just be work all the time. They also get to live a happy home life as well. We are with our dogs through retirement. This is Toby. He is recently retired and he is one good boy. Um, I was so lucky to get to work him before he retired. And this is him in retirement. So once our dogs retire, we don't stop caring for them. Working Dogs for Conservation continues to care and provide care for them through retirement. So Toby lives with his handler, Amy, who's one of our founders. Sometimes, depending on the dog, they might get rehomed. So Zoe was a dog that retired a few years ago and just got placed with her now forever home. probably a month ago now, and it is the perfect match. She just got socks with Zoe's face on them. They are a great match. So depending on the dog, they'll retire with their handler, um, or they will be adopted out to a home that fits them best. But they will stay with, if they're getting adopted out, they will stay with us until that adoption goes through. So Zoe was with us, living a happy, healthy life until someone was like, I like that dog, and they're a perfect match. Okay, so now we can do like a little game, but I'll just give you the answers because I want to get to showing you guys the dogs. So we get to work in a lot of national parks, which is cool, very safely. Our dogs are very well trained. They don't chase animals or anything like that. So we are lucky to get to do some work in really incredible places. So this is Stella in Badlands National Park. She's one of our research dogs, and she mostly only does research work. And with our bighorn sheep work, we've traveled to multiple different states to train and test our dogs on samples that we collected uh, in in the like during the whole process. So there's like a bunch of people there, not just us. It's other organizations and game and fish and volunteers. And so we're able to collect samples and then show them to the dogs for training and things like that. So that's Stella in Badlands National Park. This is Fenton in Grand Tetons National Park, searching for salt cedar pepperweed. This is a crew, so that's Suta, Michelle, Nio, and oh my God, I just Michael, one of our interns from a few years ago. They're just outside of Glacier National Park doing mink otter work. So that's Sully and Frost. That's Moose. He's on Channel Islands, and he was looking for a spotted skunk. And now it's demonstration time, but I'll take questions first because that was a lot of talking. And I'll talk about Riggs real fast and then I'll take questions. So the first dog you're going to meet is Riggs. He's 7 year old. He's almost 8, actually. He's a Belgian Malinois. He's on wolf, bighorn sheep, kit fox, black-footed ferrets, and a chestnut project. Um, Before coming to me, he was rehomed twice. I'm his third home. He was selected for, after his first home, rehomed him. He was selected for personal protection, but it was not for him. So he's going to be doing a detection demonstration for us. And then this is Moose, and he's going to be doing a fitness demonstration for us. So Moose is a 4-year-old Aussie Spaniel mix. He's on wolf, spotted skunk, mink, and otter. He was rescued as a puppy, really young, but he was a lot in the home. He had like a brother that he was with, and they were posted on Home to Home, which is an adoption website that we use a lot here in Missoula. And our head trainer Amanda was like, "These dogs look fun. Let's just go test them." Not really expecting anything. Well, his brother didn't really have much drive. Moose really surprised all of us, and she came back with a dog that day and was like, "This dog's awesome," and he's been awesome ever since. So those are the dogs you guys are gonna meet. And wow, I did keep it in just about half an hour. Look at me go. So I can take
I have
questions.
I have a question. My name is Sue. Do you do health checks on the dogs before you procure them, their final procurement?
Do you mean like before they come here?
Yeah, before they come to you,
Yeah,
like
so
elbows, eyes.
oh, yeah, we don't do OFAs, but we'll get them x-rayed for usually hips and elbows at least. But we don't need like unless there's a problem coming up, we don't usually do like eyes or thyroid or anything like that because we're not breeding them, but we do have their hips and elbows checked, and then we have any vet records that they have from before. Sometimes they don't have any vet records, so then we get on getting them like their vaccines and things like that as quickly as possible. We have a wonderful vet, Dr. Marley Johnson here in Missoula, and she's great. So we've got like 4 new dogs in the past like few months, so we've been pretty busy. But she's always great, and so if they don't have any health records that come with them, we make sure that they get all the vaccines that they need as quickly as possible. Or sometimes we get aren't spayed or neutered, so we'll get on that if necessary at the right age too.
Okay, that was my next question. So
Yep.
eventually they're all spayed or neutered.
Yeah, unless it's a personal dog. So my personal dog is not because I own him, but for our dogs, yes. They're traveling a lot. They're all over the country, so it is safest for them to be spayed or neutered. And then we send dogs like across the world, so those dogs are also spayed and neutered. Mhm.
Okay, I have
Anyone
another
else
question.
want?
So you have a vet in Missoula, but when they're out and about in the field around the world, who provides the veterinary care?
Great question. So before we leave for the field, our vet knows where we're going. We have extensive vet kits that our vet works with us to build, and we like have taken classes on like wilderness first aid for dogs and for people. So we have a huge vet kit that stays in our vehicles. And then we have a smaller emergency vet kit that we carry in our packs. And so we are well prepared for anything that happens. We have an easy way to contact our vet. And then before we go anywhere, we have an emergency list. So what vets can we go to? How far away are they? Are they 24/7? We call them first, tell them we'll be in the area. A lot of times we're around rattlesnakes, so we'll make sure we have a vet with rattlesnake poison nearby. And so we have enough stuff in our kits to hopefully get our dogs to a vet as quickly as possible. And we have the information of exactly where the vet is, the number that we need for them. When they're abroad, they have vets they work with abroad, and then we are in constant contact with our vet here. So there's constant back and forth of like sometimes like meds that might need to be sent over to a different country or things like that. Or yeah, so it really is about making sure that we are fully prepared before we leave. But in other countries, they do also have vets that they work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So from the chat. Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have some dogs, actually quite a few of our dogs that started in SAR or USAR, and didn't work out. The biggest thing is sometimes like we have one dog in particular who is also a personal dog, so it's not like a huge issue. He'll just sometimes bark at odor. You're like, okay, because he was trained to bark for live find, and then that like he will down and then sometimes just bark, which is like it's okay. He's not a live animal dog, so he's just barking at poop. It's not a huge deal. But we get a lot of dogs. How many dogs we have right now? I think we have two dogs currently, but we've also tested a few others from the National Disaster Search Dog Foundation out in California. And usually, if they're coming to us, they haven't fully completed their SAR training. So there's really like they haven't like fully got that bark alert or anything like that. So it really isn't a huge issue. The only thing you have to think about is like what are you training for? And how does a previous odor maybe affect that? That would be like a personal decision. But we have had dogs transition. We've had multiple dogs in our program go from certified USAR dogs to conservation dogs, and it hasn't been a huge issue. Okay, I'm going to read from there's a few questions here, so I'm just going to read from the chat. The dogs that are working for other people in other countries, you train the handlers and the dogs? Yes. So if we have dogs in other countries, sometimes they're procured from the US, from shelters or rescues or other organizations. Sometimes they're procured from other countries. And so in our LAO program, Renee is the lead for that program, another canine field specialist, and she goes out to LAO once or twice a year. We also work with another organization and with Paul Bunker from Chiron Canine. Sometimes he'll go out to LAO. And then if you're not out there, you are in constant communication with the people, with the handlers on the ground and their dogs. So with our Africa program, our law enforcement director is frequently out there working with the dogs and with the handlers. So it is a comprehensive program. Okay, next question. How do you manage dogs working around threats, venom, and snakes that they might never have encountered before? That's also a great question. So much like the vet stuff, before we leave, we have a list of like all the potential threats and things that could be problematic. So we as handlers are doing like at least three things at once. We are watching our dog, we are watching the environment, and we are watching our GPS. And so we're not just out there like hiking, we are out there to collect data and to make sure that our dogs are safe, that we are safe, and that the environment and the animals we are working around are safe. So we specifically procure dogs that don't want to harm animals. So hopefully, if the rattlesnake pops out, the dog is like, "Wah!" And that has happened. Like I'll be walking and I'm about to step on a rattlesnake and I'm like, whoopsies. Sometimes you hear the rattle and the dog's like, that's interesting. And because we're watching our dogs and understanding threats, we can instantly call them away. So I have never had a rattlesnake issue. But we are prepared with, I don't remember the name of the med, but with meds and proper protocol in case that were to happen. So the best thing we can do is know the area, know all the threats that we might encounter, even traps. So traps are something that even just like hiking here in Montana is something that you have to think about. So we practice opening traps. We know what traps look like. We know what snares look like. We know what maybe leading up to a trap might look like. So we do a lot of training prior and also research prior to where we're going to make sure that we are well prepared for any threats that we might encounter. Um, Okay, so the next question is, you'd mentioned dogs can differentiate among different types of scat. Are they successful like 95% of the time? What happens if they make a mistake? Do they catch that at the lab? So it depends on what odor you're working with. I think I don't have like an exact percentage, but I know that I can set a lineup of coyote and wolf scat, and my dog will choose wolf over coyote. So the more I train that, the more I believe him in the field. So we do send all of like pretty much for most scat projects we send to the lab anyway, just to gather information about the population. If they make a mistake, I, as a human, I can tell the difference between a lot of scat, but coyote and wolf can be really similar. I don't know the difference. So if I am unsure, I might just not reward my dog, and our dogs are trained for variable reward. So I'd be like, good job, thank you so much. Let's keep going. And then in my notes, I would write maybe coyote or something of the sort. So yes, they can catch that at the lab, and then that information will be sent back to us once everything is sorted through. But also, if let's say your dog is working on bear and they also know wolf. So if your dog alerts to wolf, but you don't care and you want bear, that's not a mistake. You can just maybe give your dog a cookie or two and then be like, thanks so much, let's go find. And then when they find bear, give them a higher reward. And over time in that project, the dog will be like, you don't really seem to care about wolf. So I'm just going to tell you about this bear. Um, so those are two different ways that you can approach that. But they are pretty successful. I mean, I've watched my dog skip a bunch of poop and then like choose the right one. And I'm like, that's crazy. Impressive. What is involved in assessing a dog for possible inclusion in the program does depend on the dog's eventual job. So when we get a job, sometimes we are procuring for a specific project or program. So right now we are looking for specific dogs. And so there might be traits that that partner needs in a dog. Like maybe they have other dogs at home and they're like, this dog needs to be extremely dog friendly. Whereas for us, we might say they don't need to be dog friendly, they just have to be dog neutral, you know? Or we have a size limit here at WD4C because we're traveling with a lot of dogs. And sometimes the bigger the dog, the harder it is to pack a bunch of big dogs in a truck. So we usually look for 65 pounds or less, but other programs might be like, I don't care, give me 90 pounds, doesn't matter to me. So that is project dependent, program dependent. When we procure a dog for WD4C, we have quite an extensive list of traits that we're looking for. And so a lot of dogs we test do not make the program. A lot of dogs we bring in from testing don't make the program and they are rehomed to a proper home. So our goal is to give the dog a better life than what it came from. If let's say it was in a shelter or even like a super loving home that it just like did not properly fit. Like we've gotten really high drive dogs from people that are like, I love this dog, but I can't take care of him the way he needs. And that's totally okay. So if that dog weren't to make our program, we would find a better route for that dog as opposed to going back to the person who's like, I need help with this dog. So we do toy testing. So we do this, we do have a web page dedicated to this on our website. So you can read more. It's under our Connect link. And we do 10 toy tosses where the toy is dead because a lot of times dogs like to chase a moving toy, but once the toy is dead, they're like, I don't care. And we want the dog to be desirable of the toy no matter what. We do short hides. We bring them into new places. So things like that to see if they're interested in working. Sometimes you toss a toy 10 times and by time 7, dogs are like, I'm bored. We don't want dogs like that. How many hours do your dog work in the field, desert versus grassland? Great question. So we work usually pretty early in the morning, depending on time of year and area and environment and weather. That can change. Sometimes it's really rainy and I don't have to get out of bed till 9, and that's great. Usually I'm up at like 3, 4 a.m. because that's just, you need it to be cool outside. Most of the time we're out for, I would say 4 to 6 hours. 6 would be pretty long. Sometimes your day is really long. And so you might be out for 8, 9 hours, but you're not searching the whole time. You might be traveling from spot to spot. But straight work, I would say it's usually in the 4-hour range. Um, but sometimes the days are just longer due to like driving, or you get out here, you get back in, you go to the next spot. So it really depends. But um, we do always have or as often as we can, a backup dog. So if one of our dogs gets sick or injured in the field, then another dog can take over for them. Um, yeah. Do you have more than one dog working in an area at the same time? No. So for ferrets in particular, we have areas that are by our partners, like squared off for us. And so we'll have one dog in one area and one dog in another, but we do not have two dogs in the same area at the same time. You might split an area in half if you feel like it. Um, but for the most part, our dogs work individually. Sometimes dogs will get out at the same time, but it's pretty uncommon. I think that has happened like once, and probably just like during training just to get them out. Do you have, I already read that one. How is the organization funded? Do the handlers get paid? We do get paid. We are a nonprofit, so we are funded through different like grants, or donations. It really is dependent, um, uh, where the money is from. But if you're interested in hearing more about that, I can definitely send you to the right channels. But we are a complete nonprofit, so we are hired by um, different research organizations, universities, government organizations, or like game and fish and things like that. Um, yeah, so we can be hired by a variety of people, but yes, we are very lucky to be full-time staff. Ooh, that was a lot of talking. Does anyone else have any questions? Cool. Well, I'm gonna unplug my computer and I'm gonna set you guys up. I'm gonna turn my camera off and then I'm gonna do a quick get Riggs dressed and I'll do a little demo with him, put him away, get Moose dressed, do a little demo with him. So I should hopefully be not too much longer. I don't want to keep everyone. It's kind of late for you guys over there. All right. I'll be right. All right. Hopefully that didn't take too long. So I'm gonna have Riggs, who's probably very excited, work this brick wall. So we're training the easiest on this brick wall. Because it's pretty sticky, so you'll probably see us in some spots because there is residual odor. So he's going to the brick wall, which is a really great apparatus for us to teach like very not only detailed stretching, but how to use your nose to really engage the dog's core. Because they're sitting really fast and sticking to this wall, so they're like it really works their body and it helps them physically learn how to sniff first right off the bat when you get started, and then also like sniff hard for longer. So we're gonna walk to Mary see that.
Paige, Paige, we're having a
Yeah.
hard time hearing you. Do you mind repeating what you said?
Um, hmm, let me
There,
make sure my
there you are. That's better.
okay. So we're gonna use this. It's like shaking with excitement. We're gonna use this brick wall. It's a really great way to teach dogs how to sniff hard for a longer period of time because they have to sniff a bunch of really small places. So I'm gonna get Riggs and get started. I don't know if you can hear it, but we do mark and reward. So I marked him with the clicker, and then he's chewing on the phone. So I'm gonna move it again. The odor that we're using is anise, so it's pretty stinky. So you might see him go back that spot and work through the residual odor. So he's gonna keep going. Okay. So we're gonna put it. So you better find it. Yeah. Good. Does anyone have any questions about Riggs, the wall, his scarf, his fancy scarf that he's wearing? Let's.
What do you have the scent in? A scent tin or
So for the wall, it's kind of hard. I'll show you. It's just like a little plastic container, and then I have a Q-tip with anise on it on the inside. I'm gonna send it one more time, and then I'll show you guys. The wall is just so little that the plastic container is like the best that fit. You can also just put odor in the wall and then use like an air compressor to air it out, or honestly, just like 70% isopropyl, and then it'll dry and smell like alcohol instead. So, which is a pretty neutral odor. Yes.
oh no, I just said thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I'm gonna do one more and then I'll switch him for move. Let's fun. Let's do one up here. Okay. I'm gonna really grab that. I'm broken here. What is it? So this is just what I have. It's just a little thin, like science gosh, what are these called? I'm forgetting words, but you can get them probably on like scientific websites or on like maybe a medical site or any type of similar thing. And then I just crushed a Q-tip up that smells like anise and put it in there. So I'm gonna clean this up. But yeah, so stuff like that. Riggs does a lot of wide area searches. He's very good at like scat searching and black-footed ferrets. But he also does that like MOV research. Um, and so it's this type of stuff is really great for him to really learn how to sniff hard because the odors that he's searching for in that olfactometer that I showed you can be really, really small. So this is a great apparatus for that. Great, thank you. And his favorite reward is anything you can play with. Frisbee, ball, tug, ball and rope, anything works for him. All right, so if people want to stay, I can go grab Moose and I'll show you a little bit about how our fitness works and what that looks like and why. Thank you, that's gross. Be right.
Nancy, thank you for setting this up. This is very interesting. I knew nothing about this organization, but it's very interesting to me.
I just happened to see, I think I must have seen a Facebook post or something, and I thought this would make a great program. And Paige has been great. She's been really flexible and willing to work with us. So this has been fascinating.
Does she live in Missoula?
Yeah. Carrie, I saw your question. We'll ask her that when she gets back after her second demo.
Right. So now I have Moose, and I'm gonna grab some fitness equipment for him and talk through some of the stuff that we do. So watch us do that.
Can't see you, Paige. Paige. Here we go.
So one of the great things about canine fitness is that you can really teach dogs to overcome a lot of confidence issues. So Moose here, when he came, was really a little nervous about new things and life. And through fitness and teaching him how his body worked and what he was capable of, he became really confident, not just in the fitness room, but in real life. So fitness consists of a lot of things. It could be just putting our front feet on something and extrapolating from that. So we can learn how to put our front feet up. Just on the leg and come back and put our front feet back up. That's great. We can add multiple targets and teach them running. Teach them how to use their back legs. So dogs keep most of their weight in their front legs. It's about 60-40. And so you have to teach dogs what their back legs look like and where they are in space and time to really get them to use their body. Oh, good boy. You're so nice. So once we learn that, we can make things harder. We can say, let's put our feet here and move our back legs separate from our front. That's great, Moose. We can add more weight to the back legs by asking him to sit or stand. Very nice, bud. And then we can ask for them to do it on unstable surfaces. So like a peanut or a balance disc. And so not only does all this stuff help their body like people, but it also it's great for, we call it prehab. So if a dog is to get injured, if they have a really good fitness and conditioning and body awareness, when they go into a rehab program, they're well prepared for it. And it becomes a lot easier. So fitness prior to doing things like any type of sport or just hiking with your dog or having your dog be active is really important for injury prevention, strong bodies. And then, like I said, we're in a really challenging location. So like our dog that knows how to use its body is going to move across the environment much faster. That's that. That's Moose. Sound off a little bit. He's running after. He came back to more Arizona. And so all of our dogs here, working dogs, either currently have, or did they get stuff? Currently have a conditioning program, or they will be getting a new one pretty soon. And each dog has an individualized program. So Moose's program looks different than Riggs. Riggs looks different than Yagi because it's based on not only the dog's body and how old they are and what they're capable of doing, but also maybe what projects they have coming up. So I can use fitness to create a plan that makes them stronger for their upcoming projects so they're less likely to get injured. Yeah, does anyone have any questions about that? Oh, thank you. Everyone's saying such nice things. Thank you so much.
Well,
I do what I do.
you totally deserve it because you're a fantastic speaker and you're so clearly in love with what you do, and that shows through. We did have a question, which is with the pneumonia in sheep, what is the dog
Great
detecting
question.
from scat or respiratory discharge?
That's a great question. So we have done both. So we started with sheep, like domestic sheep scat, and then we asked the question, can they transfer from domestic sheep straight to bighorn? The answer was no. And then we tried bighorn sheep scat, and this was years ago. I think they did pretty good, but it was hard. So now we use nasal swabs, and that has been the best way that we've found for them to be able to do that. And we work with a lot of different people. So it's not just us. We have a lot of scientists that help us with this project, but nasal swabs. That's a great question. So we're able to collect scat and nasal swabs um, through the like at Badlands, like we were talking about. I see elements of parkour in this. Yes, it can get much more parkoury. That's just kind of like I like to make sure dogs have the absolute basics down before they start a program. Moose is I wish I filmed him when he first started. He really is a fantastic example of how fitness can influence dog like fully. Uh, thank you, everyone. Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just watching Moose from the side of my eye too. I'm not ignoring you.
So you say that you're working in the field 4 to 6 months. What happens the rest of the time?
Great question. So it's not 4 to 6 months, uh, all at once. It's throughout the year. So sometimes I'm home, sometimes I'm away, sometimes I'm away for 2 weeks, sometimes it's five. It really depends on what the project is and what's going on. Um, in between that, we do a lot of computer work. So we report write, we might be writing papers, we upload all of our data to make sure that that information is sent to the people that it needs to be sent to, kept for our records, things like that. We do a lot of training. So, sorry, he's being so. So our dogs are trained year round. They do get off time, of course, like whether that's at home or, a few days off here and there, but they are trained pretty consistently throughout the year in various different things. And so we keep amounts going on in the field work is the least amount. We have a lot of fun. So we recently did like a little scavenger hunt game, and every handler and dog got to go out and do a double blind scavenger hunt, and there were like prizes and things like that. So we like to have fun with our dogs too. Oh gosh, we are so lucky when we take our dogs out a lot. Sometimes a day of training is just making sure they get out and get a hike and making sure they move their body or meeting a new friend. Um, and so we don't just stay here on our property. We travel around and take the dogs out to different places for training. So we definitely keep pretty busy. And then we do stuff like this too. We do a lot of presentations, school demos, things like that.
You're getting rave reviews.
I see it. Thank you. Are most of your jobs from referrals? I can see many applications for what you do. I assume a lot of them are new. Some of our jobs are definitely from referrals for sure. Um, you know, I don't know most people hear about us. That may be a question for our communications director or our development director, Crystal. Um, but I definitely know some people hear from us from referrals. Sometimes we'll get jobs and be like, hey, we can't do this, or this doesn't fit our team well, and we'll refer to other organizations as well. So that's definitely not abnormal. We've definitely done that and been like, hey, maybe you should talk to this person instead. Um, so it can be pretty collaborative in that way sometimes. Um, that's such an interesting question. That's a crystal question, I think. Um, how many projects will a dog participate in its during its lifetime? How many sense targets will a dog learn? That's also a great question. It really has changed. Like we have a lot more dogs now as opposed to maybe 10 years ago. So dogs like 10 years ago, maybe on like, 10 to 20 odors, whereas now maybe they're on like 5 to 7, just because we have more dogs so we can distribute them. Um, and yeah, it depends on how long they worked for us. So some dogs retire early because they just decide that they don't really want to do this anymore, and we respect that. Some dogs will stay from 2 to 12 they're working. So they might be on like 10, 15 projects throughout their lifetime. Uh, uh, so it really depends on the dog and how long they've worked for us. But I would not be able to count off the top of my head, mostly because our current retired dog started before I started, so I don't know all the projects they were on, but I would say at least 5 to 7 per dog, maybe. Some dogs have like 4 projects and they do them every single year, and that's what they do. Um, and then some of our partner dogs like only work on the thing that our partner needs them for. So uh, dogs that we procure for other people might be different. What is my background and degree? Um, I missed a question. I'll get back to it. Um, so I have a degree in conservation biology and ecology, and a minor in sustainability. So I do have a history of conservation. But after I graduated college and worked, I worked at Game and Fish for a little bit. I then started working with detection dogs. And so my more recent work has been in research with detection dogs and canine cognition. So I've worked at 2 universities as a lab manager slash research assistant, doing various research, writing papers, running projects, things like that. So I have like wet lab and non-wet lab experience. And then every CFS has a different background. So my son has also a background in dog. There he is. The different CFSs, canine field specialists, have background in different things. But most of us have a background somehow in either dogs or science or both. Uh, a lot of people ask what they need to get into this field. Dog training is great, but dog training is only part of it. Science, conservation, research is another part of it. Or like I know people that do I think it's wind farm work that had never done science before. They're a dog trainer, and so they took a lot of time to like learn how to correctly write data or write papers or know exactly what they're out there doing. So if science is not part of your background, being really open to learning, volunteering and talking to different science, like a lot of game and fish organizations have like volunteer programs and things like that. Someone asked how much does it cost to train and maintain one dog? A lot of money. I don't know how much money. Uh, again, a Crystal question. I should have Crystal here with me. Um, it can be a good deal of money because sometimes we're taking them from far away, so just traveling and then thinking of their like our time training them and then their food costs, vet care, and then the travel, if you include like how much they're traveling, like gas and hotels and things like that. So it can be quite a bit per dog. Um, but we are so lucky to have all the dogs that we do. And yeah, it's really it's a cool organization. I'm glad you all got to learn about it and hear more. And um, yeah, feel free to. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Our website just got updated, and it's really great. So please check out our website. It's just wd4c.org. If you guys have, we are just kind of finished procuring a few new dogs, but again, sometimes we get dogs in a few weeks, months down the line, they don't work. So we might need new dogs in the future. And all of our information for that is on our website for what we look for. Hi. Okay. That's great.
I have a question because you've mentioned retirees, and how do you
Mhm.
determine when a dog is ready to retire?
That's also a great question. Sometimes it's just their body is done working. They can't really use their legs anymore, or they just don't move the way that they did. So the last dog that we retired, Toby, that's his reason. He just got a wheelchair. So sometimes their minds are ready to go. Like, don't yell at me. Their minds are ready to go, but their bodies just can't anymore. So that's one of our main reasons for sure. That's a clicker. You can't eat that. Sometimes dogs tell us. So one of our dogs, Jax, who retired at 5 a few years ago and now lives with full-time a doctor who's great and loves him very much. Jax was just, he didn't really want to get out of the car to work anymore. And we were like, okay, you don't really want to do this anymore. Zoe recently retired and she worked on quite a few projects. She even went to Patagonia. And just over time, she has a bit of reactivity and stuff. So finding a project that worked for her became challenging and the projects weren't really that fun for her anymore. And so we decided to retire her. So it really just truly depends on the dog and their age. So if they're retiring earlier, unless there's a medical condition, it's usually they just don't want to do it anymore. Uh, we've also retired dogs, um, or more like rehomed them, where like a dog didn't fit our program, but they were an awesome working dog. And so we put them out into the universe. So we have a dog, Jack, who just did not fit our program, but he broke his leg while he was here. So we healed him and then put him back up for adoption. And now he's a wilderness search and rescue dog. So like he's a great working dog, but just not for us. So super dog dependent. But with our retired dogs, either they tell us that they're done, or their bodies are usually done. Um, yeah.
Any other
So yeah.
questions? While people sort of think about what they might want to ask before we let you go, this was fantastic. We love as dog lovers, we love how much you love your dogs, and it's
Thank
clear
you.
you love your job, and you did a great job. We're so, so, so thankful and so
You.
appreciative.
That's very kind. I really enjoyed this. I like being able to show people what we do, even though Moose is pulling me away right now. Moose wants to work. It's also dinner time. He's like, I want to have dinner. Um, so I appreciate you guys coming and listening. This has been fun for me. So, and I'm sure it's been fun for Riggs and Moose too.
Any other questions before we let her get on with her life?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this is Cindy from Ithaca, Cindy Masici, and I was wondering, Paige, are there any organizations like yours in New York State or close to, situated in the north?
So, um, there is. So actually has a volunteer program for people and dogs, and that's New York, New Jersey Trail Conference Conservation Dogs. So believe I don't know their exact location, but they're in New York, New Jersey. And then if any of you are in Philadelphia, the Penn Vet Working Dog Center does take volunteers. They do some conservation work, but there's also the Wildlife Futures program, which is part of Penn as well. They currently do not have any like volunteer programs. I'm pretty sure New Jersey Trail Conference is the only one that has like an active volunteer program. I think it's for plant detection, but I have to double check me on that. And they're really great. All the organizations are really great. Um, and I don't know, I'm trying to think of one like directly in New York, but I can't think of one right now. Um, but yeah, so community science is definitely becoming a bit, I wouldn't say like more common because it's not like every organization has it, but definitely available. We have a little community science program as well here in Montana. But yeah, I would check New York, New Jersey Trail Conference Conservation Dogs. I know they're on Instagram. They probably have a Facebook too. So yeah,
Okay, thank you very
ah,
much.
perfect. Thank you, Deb.
Wow, nice.
Oops.
So I think that's it. Paige, I'm going to reach out to you via email for some of the connections for spotted lanternfly.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we can't thank you enough. You clearly you're getting rave reviews.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Thanks for staying up late for those on the East Coast.
You too. And give your dogs hugs for us. And thanks again. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye now.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.